Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to YPC Media's webinar series. My name is Danielle Henderson. I'm the Vice President here at YPC Media, and I will be your moderator today. Also with us from YPC today is Katie Fitzgerald. She is our Director of Operations and Marketing, and she'll be working the Q&A section for questions at the end of the webinar. Today, we're going to be discussing powering your digital presence and the AI impact. At YPC Media, we have plenty of solutions to help you be found, get noticed, and generate exclusive leads. One of our longest partnerships is with Yext. Yext is a platform that powers our speed listings product, and it helps build businesses' digital presence to grow and enhance their online listings and the ability to be found on Google and other sites where people are searching for businesses just like yours. Today, representing Yext is Scott Rapasati. He has been with YPC now, I think, almost 5 years, and he is a trusted advisor and a wealth of knowledge in the SEO and business listing space. Scott, welcome to the webinar. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
We are really excited to hear what you have to say, but before we dive in, can you just give everyone a quick overview of what is Yext, what does it do, and how does it fit into the SEO world?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, just a little background on myself. I've been at Yext for about 11 and a half years now, and I started out as a small business sales associate. So if you think of kind of the heart of our platform and, the speed listings program is this kind of listings product, right? So we have, direct integrations with over 75 different search engines, online directories, navigational tools. And the idea is that, our platform helps you make sure that that information is consistently listed. And then on top of that, we provide you with the ability to implement a ton of enhanced content. So things like, logo for branding, photos, a full description, hours of operation, methods of payment accepted, a link to the website. And what really rounds it all out is this kind of one-stop shop command center, this master profile page that, if you had to update or change any piece of information, you would just simply, log in, make that change, click save. We always say kind of update once, update everywhere, right? So we're kind of re-pushing that information to the sites that we work with, all from the platform.
Yeah, and I know that platform, the reason we trust Yext so much for so long is because of exactly what you said. You trust it, you do it once, and it goes across all the sites that you need it to. And one of the things that relates to, that we talk to hundreds of businesses every month. We work with thousands of businesses over the year. And still to this day, one of the biggest things that we hear from business owners is, listen, I'm on Google, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Apple. Isn't that enough? What do you have to say to that?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's no secret that Google probably still gets that kind of lion's share of search, right? And there's even kind of an expression behind it, right? If you don't know something or you want to find something out, it's like, hey, go Google it, right? But I do think there is this kind of perception that these longer tail publishers don't really matter, don't have a lot of impact or value on a business. So that's kind of left marketers and, even some of your audience members to think about like those two strategies of like, hey, I just need to update the big four, or should I like worry about all these other different, sites that may be out there. And we actually tested that theory, right? So we had this very large kind of SEO study. And what we essentially looked at was almost 600,000 businesses. It was roughly around 570,000 that had been live on Yext for at least a year. And we kind of took a look at what the overall impact was of these longer tail publishers, on a particular, location. So, and just to kind of give you the overview, we basically bucketed out all of these locations into these three different buckets. So if you think of, being synchronized across less than half of, the network of sites that we work with, and then 50 to 75%, and then, those locations that were live on more than 75% of our network. And we specifically looked at, okay, in which bucket did they fall, but then how did they perform, or what was their overall kind of Google website click through the Google business profile. And if you think about the results, if you go to the next slide, it'll showcase, and the way we kind of think about how we're reading this is, as you go more so towards the right, that's the higher percentage of listings that they were kind of synchronized across. And as you go, from bottom to top on the graph, that showcases the overall number of Google website clicks that these, businesses received. And each dot represents one of those 570,000 locations. And it's pretty evident, right? As you kind of go up and to the right, the idea of being synchronized across all of these sites, it kind of led to a correlation of, more, Google website clicks through the Google business profile.
That's the ultimate goal right now, right? Is to get those engagements, get those clicks, because that's what's getting you new clients and new business. And I know that within the study, you have a lot of great data points and results. So can you give us some more details on exactly what this means and how it impacts small businesses today?
Definitely. And I think if you kind of look at the nitty gritty or the numbers behind the actual study, right? So what we took a look at was the locations that fell into that third bucket of being synchronized across 75% or more of our network. It equated to almost 445,000 locations. And then we compared that to bucket number one and how well they did, from that kind of search traffic perspective. And as you can see, I mean, what we found was that, when a location is synchronized across the majority of the network, they saw a 186% increase in Google website clicks, when thinking about in the comparison of like the locations that fell into bucket number one. So again, very strong correlation between the number of publishers that you could be synced on, and how that kind of impacts overall search.
This is a really large number, and I think it speaks volumes to why we use you guys to power our speed listings product, because this is big for a small business owner. And I know that we talk about syncing across different platforms. Let's talk about why Yext versus other vendors. What's the Yext advantage?
Yeah, definitely. So, I think one thing you have to understand and consider is if you are considering other vendors or other different listing services in the space, right? At like best, you'd potentially be able to get into bucket number two, right? And I'll explain why that is in a second. But, again, at best, you're kind of in bucket number two. And when we took bucket number three and compared that against the middle bucket, we saw that those locations saw 57%, increase in Google website clicks, right? So obviously a still very large number from just that kind of middle to bucket between that 50 and 75%. And I think really the Yext differentiator or maybe advantage is that we just simply have the most amount of direct integrations when you're thinking with how we partner and how we work with the sites that are included in our network. There's really no other listing service that has that many and that has that kind of strength of integration, that we have with the publishers that we partner with.
And it's a trust piece too. And I know we look at this and there's a lot of talk right now about Google, but there's a lot of new ways and places to search. And can you give us a little bit of insight into where we're headed and how optimizing your business listings can help things as we transition into this new digital age?
Yeah. And again, to reiterate, no secret, right? So Google obviously still has that kind of market share, but, a part of this study, we took a look at the traffic that was coming from non-Google publishers, right? And we've kind of dubbed this as like the rest of network or the RON. And what we saw was that, the typical location sees over 17% of their digital engagement coming from these non-Google publishers. So the number is actually, I mean, I think a lot higher than people would actually kind of perceive the number to be. So when you're thinking about that, kind of that main takeaway of those two strategies, when you think of all these longer tail publishers and them kind of all accounting for 17% of all digital engagement, that's a significant number that I think a lot of times small business owners, couldn't do without, right? So it's, you want to make sure you have correct and consistent information across the larger publishers, of course, but adding on that kind of rest of network really kind of creates that more, complete strategy to make sure that the data, is everywhere that it needs to be.
And it's helping you stay relevant for Google, but the non-Google publishers are rising. We were on a webinar with your company and they were talking about how that 17% is even growing over the years. So it's good to be able to be prepping for that and looking towards the future. And speaking of non-Google publishers, there's a lot of talk about AI, things like ChatGPT and Gemini. I know you recently did a test, asked a few questions, was hoping you could share your findings with us.
Yeah, and I think, it kind of got us all curious as to when we announced this large SEO study as to kind of like play around with some of these large language models and, just get an idea as to like where they potentially are getting their data from and kind of what they're saying. So we had asked, Bard, ChatGPT, Gemini, very similar questions in the perspective of like, hey, if I used Yext and I updated, 100 plus directory sites, like how would that help these AI systems provide the right and accurate knowledge to consumers about my business? And the results, you can see, they're very similar, right? In the perspective of like all the advantages of having increased consistency across the board, enhanced credibility of giving these search engines and online directories the confidence level that your information is consistent and accurate. And then things like, improved discoverability and the structured data advantage. Because again, as search is kind of evolving, we're evolving as consumers to not necessarily look at it from, insurance agent near me, but more so like insurance agents that sell a particular type of insurance that specialize in luxury auto vehicles, right? So it's more of a dialogue versus a keyword type search. So having all that structured data fed into these AI systems is going to be, I think really crucial in the strategy kind of moving forward.
Absolutely. And I know there was one more question that you guys asked about the only big platforms. And I think this kind of relates to the question we asked earlier. So interested to see what it said here.
Yeah, definitely. So we kind of flipped the script a little bit, right? We said, hey, what if I only update, the larger platforms? Why is that strategy wrong or maybe not the best approach? And again, you'll see in the results, it's very similar answers across all of these kind of tools like, Bard and ChatGPT. But things like, missing out on wider search and then again, data integrity issues, and it really kind of always comes back to that consistency, right? That confidence level, so having the consistency across all of these platforms really ensures that these AI tools would have the most kind of complete picture of your business. And then, this is another time we asked a different, Gemini. I really like the analogy they use, kind of thinking like a map, right? If we really only marked the major roads, that wouldn't really help someone navigate effectively. So, I mean, in short, wider, consistent data distribution really just equals a better chance of the AI tools kind of finding that correct information.
It makes total sense. And I know this talks a little bit, where are these GPTs and Geminis, where are they getting their data from?
Yeah, so, and we did this multiple times, and this was actually done by an individual who was located in Boca Raton and had their location services on, but, obviously asking for Bill Anderson, what time does it open, right? So, with ChatGPT, it gave the answer and it also cited the publishers in which that it found the information from. So obviously, as you can see, it's not Google, it's not a larger publisher, it's a local mint in YP. So it kind of adds into that, strategy of making sure that your information is accurate across all of these sites versus like saying, hey, I'm on Google and I'm fine. It's really important to have that more complete picture for these tools.
Absolutely. And last but not least, we see the importance and the consistency and the relevance here, not just in Google, but in these AI platforms. But we often get asked why this isn't just a one and done. Like, why can't I go in the system, match and lock it, push it out once? Can you explain the importance of maintaining your listings over time?
Yeah, and we also get this question a lot, right? It's definitely a very common, thing that'll come up. And really, in short, I mean, these publishers get their data from a ton of different sources, right? And there really is, no one-time fix when it comes to maintaining this type of information. And, you had mentioned like there's no one-time fix, right? So we talked about the consistency, but also I think what we're seeing now and what's becoming possibly even more important is things like, recency and frequency. So thinking of how often you update your information online. So if I'm a business owner and, I go in and I update, my local information, my business information, it's providing that signal back to the publisher to say, hey, I'm an active business, I'm engaging with my customers, and that makes them more willing and more confident to actually display that business information. So if you're thinking again from Google's perspective or any of these other sites, if they're looking at the business that had updated their information a year ago versus a month ago, they're going to lean towards that kind of recency. And then also on a frequency perspective, we see businesses that update their information, once or twice a month, see, a significant impact in as to where and how they're kind of showing up online. So it's, the first step is consistency, and then really kind of taking advantage of that engagement is going to be kind of crucial.
Yeah, and I believe you said it to me at one point, if it's going to be frequent, it should be consistent. And those two things together are kind of what you're talking about. And I also think that you alluded to it a little bit. It's not just Google's perception and trust, it's the consumer. Once Google provides the answer, the consumer or your potential client has to trust you too, right? And that trust comes from seeing that you're an active, present business, not just somebody who hasn't had a review or something like that in the last 6 months. And, I know that we talked a lot about AI, business listings, Google, but before we open it up to questions from the group, can you just give us, is there anything else you feel like business owners should know or should be doing today to get them prepared and optimized for the now with business listings and search?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, the analogy that I always provide is like, if you're going to build a house, your local listings are kind of the foundation, right? You're not going to start with your roof. You want to make sure that, again, you have that, consistent information out there. And as you've kind of already built that foundation, I think what we're seeing is the businesses that are engaging or interacting with their customers online are seeing the benefits, right? So when I say like engaging and interacting, I mean like responding to reviews, whether it's, social posts and then, commenting on social posts back to their consumers, things like Google Q&A. So, managing the questions and answers that are coming from your customers and really, again, engaging with them, online is, I think, going to be, very important moving forward. And then also think of it from a consumer perspective, right? Like we all look for local businesses every day, right? If we see that, a business has a 3 or a 4-star review and there's a couple of negative ones, but we see that the owner took the time and, responded to them, it makes us more comfortable as consumers to say, hey, if I don't have a great experience, at least I know someone's going to kind of take care of me on the back end, right? So, again, step number 1, get the listing sorted out, and then from there, worry about kind of engaging online. But that's what I would say, kind of, what's coming.
Scott, thank you so much. You always give us great information, and we really appreciate you coming on here and sharing that the new data and all the new pieces that can help us really grow in the small business world. I am going to open it up now, Katie, to any questions that we might have got throughout the webinar.
Yeah, so we did get a couple questions, and I think we have time for all 3. So the first one was, what YPC products can support businesses in AI and search right now?
Yeah, so there are a lot of things going on in AI and search. And Scott, you spoke to a lot of the baseline pieces. So it's all about building first the foundation of your house. So YPC offers multiple products in that be found space. So speed listings, we talked a lot about today. That's your business listing management, that frequency, consistency, and making sure that you can be found not just in one place, but in every place, regardless of where people are searching. The next piece is the GMB optimization and management. We'll go in and really optimize your GBP. And I know, Scott, you talked about the Q&A section, updating products and services, being active on there and showing Google and the consumer that you're an active, trusted place to do business. We also offer reputation management services. So we talked about reviews. We'll help you get reviews. We'll help you answer reviews. There's different pieces in our speed listing product that actually helps us answer reviews more intelligently and more effectively for AI and algorithmic reasons. So one of the things people might not know is reviews. For example, someone searches for the best tacos in North Carolina that also come with a great margarita or something like that. The review response, if it mentions those pieces or a great review, you might actually rank higher than somebody else naturally would, because you're actually feeding into that dialogue question or those specific keywords that's within the search term. So that's one of the pieces that reputation management will also help you do. And I know today we just scratched the surface here with organic search. So organic search is that marathon. It's not a sprint. You build into it, you grow it over time. But we're actually going to be doing another webinar here in 2 weeks, Katie and I, about really how Google and how AI has really changed that forever and not being left behind. But part of that is paid search too, right? So we also offer paid search options. So Google Ads Management and programmatic advertising. So we're talking CCTV, the things you hear on podcasts, all of that. We're starting to be able to really emphasize that and build into the paid search portion, as well as social media. So Scott, you mentioned social media presence, branding. We also offer those pieces to be able to ensure that you drive brand consistency across those social networks, which are now becoming search networks, right? So creating consistency and a presence and a relevance there as well. So plenty of things that we can offer in that space to be able to help businesses stay on top of what's going on today.
That's great. Thank you for that. And our second question kind of tags along to this. So again, probably for you, Danielle, but what kind of updates has YPC made to our existing programs to impact AI and search?
Yeah, so this is a really big one. And I think, first of all, YPC Media uses AI all the time. We have our own internal tech development team. We're constantly looking into ways to streamline things and work as smart and as efficient as we possibly can. So we're constantly implementing AI into our own business. But also on top of that, we have specialists in every field who are staying in the know about their portion of the business and ensuring that we are on top of whatever the next thing is and implementing that for our clients. Another big piece of this, Scott's here today, is picking the right vendors. Honestly, that's such a huge portion of what we do. We work in a world where you want to have the best people surrounding you and supporting your product, services, and offerings. And for example, Yext is the leader in the field of business listings, but they're constantly making updates and edits to their own platform to help businesses like YPC Media give the best back to our clients. So making sure we have the right partnerships and we're aligned with the right people helps us ensure that we are providing the highest standard and the most advanced standard to our clients and giving them the best chance at being found when people are looking for them.
That's awesome. Thank you. And our last one, again, is for you, Danielle, but someone had asked if YPC manages websites.
Yes, thank you for asking this question. I can't believe I didn't say it before, but we talked about the foundation of your house. A lot of this is in that business listings Google presence, but the biggest thing that Google is always looking at is your website. So they are looking at the speed of your website, the quality of your website. Is the content in your website consistent with what you're putting out in other places online? And also they're scanning that all the time for search. And one of the biggest things that you can do for yourself is build a comprehensive, mobile-friendly, user-friendly website that really answers the questions and the needs of your client. Scott talked a little bit, and this goes off the website alone. We do offer websites, but Scott talked about keyword search. Your website has to be strong for keyword search, but also the future of dialogue search. You want to be able to have your website answer questions and solve problems for people as they're searching in these new platforms that aren't just keyword specific. You've probably seen AI at the top of Google a little bit as it is right now. That's coming from multiple sources, but your website is a huge player in that game. So definitely want to take a look and make sure you have the best website possible. And if you want us to take a look at it, YPC Media will do a free audit of your website. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us. If you're a current client and you want more information about websites, speed listings, what are we doing for you, or what can you do more? Schedule an appointment with your account manager. If you're not a client and you're looking to see how we can help you build your presence, or even where the gaps are, scan the QR code. It's going to take you to a link. You'll be able to schedule a free marketing consultation. We'll go into all the details with you and help you along that journey to make sure that you can be found, get noticed, and generate those exclusive leads. And again, thank you all so much for being here. We really appreciate you taking the time to learn and grow in your business. And Scott, again, thank you for being here to help us impart wisdom and knowledge. And we look forward to the next webinar with everyone. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.